and welcome back. I'm Britton, and I'm here today with Oklahoma Sooners sports aficionado and my dad, Todd Summers. Say hello, Dad.
Hello, sports fans.
And once again, it is yet another episode of Days of Our Sooners, where we talk about the never-ending soap opera that is Oklahoma Sooners football. How are you doing, Dad?
I'm doing great. It hadn't been much of a soap opera so far this year. It seems like everything's kind of running smooth and no controversy these days. But I'm sure we'll get into some rough patches here going forward if we know how the Sooners run.
Yeah, indeed. It was a we played Kent State. The Golden Flashes, you said, was there?
Golden Flashes. I did not know that one. That was a new one for me. So I did not know about the Golden Flashes, but they put up a pretty good fight.
Oh yeah, I will admit. Yeah, I thought their offensive schemes were really good.
Yeah, they did have a pretty good offense. That quarterback had a live arm, and I thought they, showed themselves to be a formidable opponent.
I mean, yeah, we did kind of smack them in the second half. But they played hard, to be sure.
They did indeed, and it was a tale of two halves. That first half was a bore fest. I was about to fall asleep in the middle of that thing.
I was having some unpleasant flashbacks to the Lincoln Riley era with that first half.
I was too. The offense looked a little stale, but we'll get into that in a few minutes. So, a couple of things I wanted to talk about. What'd you think about the striped stadium look and with the fans wearing the different colors in the different sections?
I thought that was neat. They've been doing that for a couple of years now, right?
They have. It's been several years, and I like that. I wish it was for a bigger game than Kent State, but they have been doing it, and it's got a cool look and a great look on TV. One other thing I wanted to talk to you about was Venables ball cap versus Stoops visor. What are your thoughts?
I don't know if I have too much of an opinion on that, but they're both good coaches, so I'll put it that way. Venables is proving to be up for the task as a head coach so far.
Yeah. He seems to be staying pretty calm on the sidelines versus what I've seen in past years where his veins in his neck is popping out. Maybe that's the competition so far, but so far he's been a good boy. So well done, Coach Venables. So you want to get started with the first half, or?
Well, in all honesty, I was when I was watching the game, I was like, oh boy, I hope I don't have to go on my first rant about the Venables era, but first half was pretty slow. It went by pretty quickly when I was watching it, but really slow. Offense looked not great. The offense didn't. There were some very squeaky tires with that. There was like some obvious shortcomings with the car. Wasn't a well-oiled machine just yet.
No.
Felt the play calling was kind of lazy. The team kind of looked a little frazzled there. The offensive line looked a little weird.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed.
At least at first, I'm like, God, I don't know if it was because of inexperience or bad play calling or both. I don't know. I'm not. I don't know how to. You're more the sports expert than me. What do you think?
Well, I think that I don't know if we're saving some of our plays, going vanilla or what, as they say. But the first, 3-4 possessions, it just seemed like we were trying to run the ball.
Pretty lame.
It looked like we were up the middle, 2 yards at and a dust bowl behind us. We just were running it up the middle.
Reminds
we
me
weren't
of
going anywhere. So
reminds me of Ryan sometimes like to call Bob Stoops running up the middle, Bob.
Yeah.
I don't know if other fans have described him that way, but.
Yeah, well, I expected, of course we've been used to seeing Lincoln Riley's wide open offense, so I was expecting to see a little more wide open from Levy, although I heard he was a coach that would run the ball, but if the defense is stacked against you and the line can't block the guys, then it's time to put a little more variety in the offense, in my opinion. So first three series for the Sooners, 3 and out. Just couldn't get it going. Run, got a sack. Seemed like no one was open on third down.
Also, kind of illustrated some of Dylan Gabriel's shortcomings. I mean, I like Gabriel. I think he's a talented player. He is a bit slow. You mentioned that the other day.
Yeah, he's a little bit slow foot.
And the occasional overthrow.
Yeah, he's got a little Landry Jones in him with the slow feet. It seemed like he was holding on to the ball a little bit too long. Maybe he should have thrown it away a few times. Got a couple of sacks. I don't know if that was the line's fault. It felt like he hung on to the ball a little longer than he should have. So, I'm not ready to call for the backup quarterback just yet, Brett.
Well, I wasn't trying to imply anything.
Yeah. I know as fans, we're always looking to bring in that backup quarterback. I still remember those chants from last year. We want Caleb.
Yikes. Yeah.
I'm not ready for that this year.
I'm
going to give him a chance.
I was about to say, I think Gabriel's good, just, he has his flaws, he won't embarrass himself. That's a good way to describe
Well, one thing about it, he hasn't thrown any interceptions, and I don't think the Sooners have had a turnover the whole year so far. So I do like that we're protecting the ball. We've got ball security. We value the ball. I do like that. Instead of throwing it up in the air, he is kind of eating the ball. I don't like the sacks, but at least he's not turning it over and giving the opposing team some momentum with a turnover.
I think the defense really, once again, the defense saved the day.
I agree. I think the first half was all about the defense, really.
Yeah.
That was the only exciting moments of the first half for me.
I was very grateful for our defense because they would have. I mean, if this were like in the Riley era, I think it would have been more of a nail biter.
Yeah, I agree.
When it really shouldn't be.
Right, and I heard Venables at halftime talk about we've got a lot of missed tackles and the third down conversion, so I think there's room to improve. Mm-hmm. But all in all, it seemed like that front four defensive line was living in the backfield along with Mr. Stutzman.
Oh my gosh, that man is a man possessed.
Yeah, he and Grimes are really having.
They were bullying that quarterback.
Yeah, he and Grimes are really having a good start to the season, so I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, Kent State was really, they were pulling it all out, I mean, I'm always saying never underestimate your opponents because underestimation often makes you careless.
Right. They had a fast-paced offense similar to OU's offense. Maybe that's what helped Kent State's defense hold us in check. But
we only held them 3 points, so I think, I can't say that's a bad thing.
No, they had a couple of drives there. I think the quarterback broke out for a scramble and gained like 17 yards, put him in position to kick a field goal. They held us again and got the ball again and drove down and tried another field goal before halftime. But they missed.
I was like, yes, they missed.
Those kickers, you can't ever count on them. And then that's when we finally struck and gained some momentum that carried us into the second half.
Oh, yes. Marvin. I think Venables played his cards beautifully in those last seconds of the second half.
I did too. Back to the first half, I thought that...
going into the second half.
Oh, going into the second half, yeah. I thought the defense in the first half, especially with the fast pace of Kent State, I saw a lot of that. I don't know where to be lined up. Maybe they weren't getting the calls in fast enough for the defensive players, but I did see some confusion. That made me a little bit concerned. I saw our all Big 12 punter have a shank off the side of his foot, which I was not happy to see that.
That was, I was like, God, what happened?
Yeah, but
you were looking great last week.
Yeah. Well, different competition brings out different results. That's why they play the games, Brett.
Yeah.
So, if it was all on paper, we wouldn't play any of the games. We'd just give us a 12-0 record and go on into the bowl game. But again, I did think the defensive line was very active. The quarterback...
They were trying to stop the ball. It wasn't just there wasn't the discombobulation that we saw last season where it was just like, my God, none of the both sides of the ball are not meshing well. It's either one side was doing really well or the other side was doing really well.
Well, in the first half, the defense was doing well, and the offense was just stuck in second gear. They just
I know.
couldn't get going.
I know. Like I said, I had some pretty uncomfortable flashbacks to last year.
Right. I know that quarterback for Kent State, they said he was a star baseball player, and you could really...
he was fast.
You could tell it. Yeah, he was fast foot, and he had a strong arm. I think his name was Schlee, and he could really toss the ball around. But again, our defensive backs were pretty much in position. They had a few completions. I think they had one great completion on the sideline that
Oh my gosh! Yeah, you see that? He like barely. I was like, man, dang it!
Yeah, I thought we were going to be in fourth down territory there, and then the guy made a great throw, and the kid caught it on the sideline. So that was a great play by them. I saw a lot of the OU fans. You got to love the OU fans, right? We're either the greatest team on earth, or
with the barn burners,
or we've got our arms crossed and we look like we're getting ready to kick somebody's rear end, or we're gonna puke in our popcorn bucket. It just looks, the fans, you can see it on their face. They don't hide their emotions well, those OU fans. So, but all in all, I thought that the first half was pretty boring. The defense did hold us in the game, and then that allowed us to gain some momentum. Now, what about that last drive? We got the ball back with 1:20 left.
Well, like I said earlier, I think Venables played his cards beautifully. Mm-hmm. Or whoever was doing the play calling.
Yeah, Jeff Levy, the offensive coordinator.
I think Levy also played his cards very nicely. Yeah. They gave us enough time, and we ran up the field, and Marvin Mims got in for the touchdown. I'm like, yeah, baby.
Yeah, we started out that series. I think there was about 1:10 left. We were on our own 23. We did a quick swing pass out to the right, gained some good yardage. 3 more passes, the little out routes, the 2-minute drill where they could step out of bounds and stop the clock, and then Mims caught the touchdown pass to give us some momentum going into the halftime. So that was great, and I know all of those arms came uncrossed, and
it was like, yeah, there we go.
Clapping, so.
It's weird now because a lot of these players are now my age, so it's really weird because I remember them all being older than me.
Right? Do they still look older than you as you see them on TV?
Yeah, they still look.
I look like older.
I mean, if you saw me, you'd probably think I'm like 16.
Yeah.
They look like they're in their 20s. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, well, the team, again, I think maybe one guy maybe get hurt. They looked like some cramps, but it looks like the team's in good shape. The weather was beautiful that night. It was a cool night, and actually even got cooler as the night wore on. The wind whipped up, and I think the temperature dropped 20, 30 degrees. So it must have been a great night out there to be a Sooner.
I thought it was funny that Ryan Leaf was one of the commentators.
Yeah.
I felt I should just bring that up.
Okay. Well, he's a sad story of college football. Great college player, washed out in the pros, and then had other incidents along his life. But it's good to see him, working his way back and being a positive influence and having a positive life. So that's probably what he deserves.
Bob Stoops come in, so for...
Yeah, I like to see Bob there at the end, and I think we'll wait till the second half to talk about him a little bit.
All right.
So we go on to the second half. We've got a little bit of momentum. We get the ball. They kick it off to Billy Bowman as the kick returner, number 5. You know anything about Billy Bowman?
Not too much. He's done some stuff. Like he's a good cover. Mm-hmm. Like I know Mims is usually our return guy, but he was pretty good.
Yeah, he seems to be catching it on those kickoffs and bringing it back out of the end zone 5-6 yards deep. But thought he had a good return there to start the second half that got kept the momentum going. One fact about Bowman that you may not know, Brett, is that I'm a big softball fan, and I sat next to Billy Bowman at a softball game, and he's dating our center fielder, Jada Coleman. So, my gosh, what kind of kids are they going to have?
I forgot. You're real proud of that one.
Yeah. I call him my good friend. So anyway, I thought the kickoff return got us started in the first half, or in the second half. It was unbelievable that we only had 7 yards rushing in the first half. So
That was nuts.
I was really hoping they were going to come out throwing the ball and then let that set up the run.
I know the run game was not looking great in the first half.
Yeah.
It just looked lazy.
It was just up the middle, knocked down. We weren't blocking. I don't know what was going on. Maybe they were in our playbook. I'm not sure. But we started out the second half. First play was a pass. Second play, pass interference.
Oh, my Lord.
So we get going on the series.
There was another penalty. Wasn't it a defective equipment?
Never heard that one.
I've never heard that one
I
either.
wonder if the guy didn't have his mouthpiece in or something like that. I don't know. Not sure what it was.
Trying to be Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I guess so. But we started out passing the ball. And then all of a sudden we have a couple of runs in there and bust those out. And then we hand it off to Marcus Major. He does a little quick whoop to the side. And he's in the end zone. So quick 68-yard drive, a couple of minutes long. And I was like, okay, here we go. And so we were off. And I thought we did a great job keeping the momentum.
We had the pedal to the metal for the rest of the third quarter.
Exactly.
So.
And then right after that series, the defensive comes up with a big turnover. You remember the fumble there?
Oh yeah, he stripped it out of his
right.
hand.
So, the two guys get a hold of the defender or of the receiver, and they rip that ball out.
I think that was Bowman as well.
It was Bowman, yeah. And I think he had 10, 11 tackles. He had that caused fumble, and he recovered the fumble. So
we also got a really great fourth down stop. Finally, they were running circles around us last year. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We were the guys who were letting all the fourth down conversions.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like we might have broke a record last year on allowing fourth down conversions. It seemed like every game we played, everybody was going for it on fourth down.
Well, why not? Because we kept sucking.
That's true. I felt like I was playing Nintendo and going for it on fourth down every time in my college football game. So. But I thought Bowman's big return, big series, got the turnover, immediately went in with the Majors run, and then a pass to Mims, pass to Weiss, and then we ended up having to kick a field goal on that. So I was a little bit disappointed.
Yeah.
Little 25-yard field goal. I would like to see our kicker kick one from.
I think it was a penalty that kind of screwed us on that drive.
It may have been. I don't remember exactly, but it seemed like we got stopped there, and then we ended up with a field goal. And then the third series, we jumped out and got a big play right off the bat, had a couple of runs, and then Drake Stoops.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about that play.
Oh, that was fantastic. That was fantastic. I think Gabriel just shot him a little pass. He just ran, and they almost pushed him out, but he was still going, and he managed to dive right in. He bulldozed through two guys and jumped in.
That was an amazing dive
that
backwards there. I bet Bob was proud on that one.
Yeah, I think the guys were like, "Did you teach him that?" And it was like, "No, I was a DB."
Yeah, that was an amazing play. On that fourth down stop, I think Stutzman was the one that blew that one up.
Oh my gosh, yes. He just went over and crashed into that man.
What do you think of Stutzman?
Well, like I said, I think he's a man possessed. I think he's I think he has potential to become a great center.
I do too. I see him in the mold of the Boz, maybe a little faster than the Boz.
Yeah, Boz was really big. I've seen some of his old. I mean, I wasn't alive when he was playing, but I've seen reels.
He looks a little more lanky than Boz, but he's got the intensity of Boz.
Yeah,
I do like that about him.
But he's disciplined. I like that too. He's not like Buki.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a racist word, but then I'm like, oh, it's his nickname.
Buki?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where did he go? Do you remember?
I think he went to Washington.
Did he go to Washington? I thought he might have gone to Miami, but good riddance. I never really enjoyed
that. The guy was getting us penalty after penalty.
I know, and I hated that he was wearing Bosworth's number. You got to be great to wear Bosworth's number. So. And then the fourth series, we kept the momentum going. Started off with a pass to Weiss, and then a nice run by Major, and then all of a sudden that big long bomb to Mims.
Oh,
for the
yeah.
touchdown where
Uh-huh.
he blew past the guy and
Oh
just
my
wide
gosh,
open.
he was gone.
So
Yeah, it was great.
another great play. So
Another
that got me feeling easy at that point. The
Again, it looked like it was almost like we were. It was like you said, a tale of two games.
Exactly.
The first half, we were just kind of like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah.
And then the second half, we were like, "All right, this is what I was expecting." And good job, boys.
Yeah, one thing I'm not. Yeah, it's just me. I grew up watching Barry's teams, and I want to go for the 50. I don't. Why do we get ahead and we seem like we take the pedal off the metal? Although we threw a pass right down the middle, and Braden dropped it. He had a horrible game this
Oh
week.
my gosh!
As good as he was last week, he was that bad this week. And
What?
maybe he was doing some good blocking. I don't know, but
I think they only passed it to him once, and he just dropped it. I was like, "Dude, that was an easy catch. Come on."
I think he had one in the first half where they threw it behind him or something. But that one in the middle of the field, he was gone. He was going to be a touchdown, and he just alligator armed it. And
Poor guy. I hope he improves his game.
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
He's good.
I'm sure he will. But I was a little bit disappointed with him in the game. And then we've got the guy, Farouk, who was the big Sugar Bowl bust-out player in the Sugar Bowl. I thought he was going to be, Marquise Brown this year, and he just has not got loose. And I don't know if he caught a pass in the game. I don't think he did. But
I
we
think
got to get
Dylan Gabriel and Marvin. I think Dylan Gabriel really likes Marvin Mims.
I think he is forcing it to him a little bit. He is starting to find Weiss, and then he's passed it to Drake a few times. But we need to get Farouk involved in the game, and really spread the defense out so they can't just focus on Marvin. Because if we keep going to Marvin every game and every play, then the defense is going to load up on him.
They'll grow wise to the act.
Exactly, and not to mention that the other team's going to, or the other players on our team are going to get,
I'm like, hey,
jealous
what's going
or
on here?
get their feelings hurt, whatever the
Something,
case may
I don't
be.
know.
I did like also Marvin Mims' big punt return. What did you think about our punt return game? Last year, I think we fair caught it every time, and we never, no big plays in the kicking game. And we've already had a good return from Bowman to start the half, and then Marvin.
We had a good return right there. I wish they would have done something with it because I always get mad when they get a good return and they don't do shit with it.
And they don't do anything.
They don't do anything with
Exactly. But I liked seeing the return.
Well, yeah,
I liked
the
seeing
return was
aggressiveness.
nice.
And so, all in all, the second half, and then we got a safety in the second half.
Poor Shmee. That guy, if he hadn't have gotten the safety, that would have been a very impressive run.
Yeah, he busted out of there.
Our defense should have got him right there, but he toughed it out. He just stepped out of bounds. And
yeah. I was amazed that he got out of there without getting tackled, and then the replay.
He got the safety. I was like,
the replay showed that he had stepped out. So points for the defense. That's always a plus.
Yeah, and then they fair caught the punt. I'm like, is that how that works?
Yeah, you can.
You don't get a lot of safeties in football.
Yeah, and then we didn't do anything with the ball in that series too. Like I said, we kind of slowed down the pace.
Then the fourth quarter was kind of boring.
Good.
All right.
You can edit that out.
I'll edit that out. Yeah.
All right, very good. All right, so game ended. Let's talk about the flashy lights where it looked like we were having some technical difficulties in the game. What'd you think about the strobe lights?
I was like, is the weather that bad?
Yeah.
It's weird, but I'm like, oh, okay, I guess it's like a celebratory thing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I hope we have more night games. And I talked to a friend that went to the game, and it seemed like the fans all had their phone flashlights on.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that was cool. He was like, yeah.
And so they said it looked very beautiful out in the stadium. So that's pretty cool. We may have to go see a game this year in person. It's hard to get away from that 70-inch TV, though. So nice. So nice.
Also, I also get nervous going to games because every time most of the times that we've gone, we've lost. And
that's because I take you to all the good games, Brett. We go to this national championship in Florida. We play Texas, Colt McCoy versus Sam Bradford.
Yeah, that was
I take you
fun
to the
time.
Notre Dame game. I mean, I'm not taking you.
We tend to do badly against Notre Dame. I don't know what it is.
They typically have our number.
We beat them the last time we played them. So
I'd like to play them this year.
Oh yeah, just bully them. That would be great.
So anyway, the game ended. We had the backups in. Nothing special, but it was a good, solid
win. They don't
win.
like Booty for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'd like to see General Booty. So I think I'd like to hear the announcers talking about that. So you mentioned Stoops was in the press box.
Yeah, he was for a little bit.
Yeah.
Apparently he was at Kent State for... Whole gang was at Kent State for a little bit.
Did they coach there? I didn't catch that. Did they talk about...
it said Kent... Well, he said he had a brief stint over there in the 80s. So.
Very good. It's a good stepping stone. It was a good stepping stone job to go on to bigger and better things. So I did not know that about Stoops, but I liked one statement that he made. They asked about what it was like having Venables, and they knew they were friends, and he talked about that. Venables was in that same mold as Bud and Barry, and then himself. And I like this statement that he made. We aren't going anywhere.
Yes.
Which means the dynasty and the monster will live on. So I loved that. Then they started talking about the SEC and going into the SEC. And, he said he was very excited to go. And probably wouldn't win it every year like we do in the Big 12, I think was his comment, which is a nice stab to Texas, which I like that, and to OSU and the rest of the gang. He said we might not win it all, but we will win our share, and I like that confidence. So I thought those were great comments that Stoops made that I wanted to mention in our Days of Our Sooners podcast. So really boring game. I don't know much more to talk about during the game. What did you think about some of the games that we saw around the country this weekend?
Well, there was a lot of barn burners, as you like to call them.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame lost to Marshall.
We Are Marshall?
The Matthew McConaughey movie.
Do they still have a football team?
I guess they do. And they beat Notre Dame.
I guess they did.
If I were a Notre Dame fan, I would be sick right now.
I didn't see any of that game. I don't know what happened.
I didn't see that game either, but I would have been just gobsmacked.
Yeah, I don't. This is why I don't bet on football, Brett.
Bet on that. I also wanted to talk about this. The Texas and Alabama game.
Now that I did watch, and that was a barn burner.
I honestly thought that was going to be a blowout for a second there.
I thought before the game started, I would have bet the house on Alabama because I just didn't believe in Texas, and I have.
Sarkisian is just. If I were a Texas fan, I'm not. Never will be a Texas fan in my life. So you can thank my dad for that one. He has molded me in the ways, you could say. But if I were a Texas fan, I would be very angry right now because that game. I think Texas should have won that game.
They had every chance.
I really think they should have won that game. They
had every chance to win the game.
I don't know if it's like Nick Saban had some black magic or something during halftime or whatever, but Alabama was not looking good there for a bit. Like vanilla, basic. I don't know if it's just Sarkisian. I think it is Sarkisian, right? I think it is him, but it's just like I'm like they had heard me ranting. It's because he's same thing with Lincoln Riley. He's making easily avoidable mistakes.
Yeah. That
if it were me, I would have scored a touchdown and forced their hand and see if we could ice him and get him to lose the game. But I'm not a coach, so
right. Well, it was 4th down, and they were it was late in the game. There was a minute left. Their defense had played well, and so I guess he rolled the dice on his defense. But I knew as soon as they kicked the field goal with a minute 20 left, I knew Saban was going to get it done. And really, the kid comes flying in off the corner and could have sacked the Alabama quarterback for a big loss. They make that one play, and they may win the game. But he missed it. Quarterback zips up the sidelines. They're already in field goal position. They milk out the clock, exactly what you're talking about, the way you should. Milk it down to nothing left, kick the field goal, walk out and tip your hat to the Texas Longhorn faithful.
Oh my God! If I were a Longhorns fan, I would be very angry right now because he choked another game.
Yeah.
Another one.
Uh-huh.
And it's just like, I mean, talk about a neutered dynasty. Because Texas, like, when Mac was there, they were a force to be reckoned with for a while.
Right.
And for better or for worse.
Exactly.
Created some great games. Then they had a couple other coaches. They had Charlie Strong. I called him Black Mac because, you know, he's the guy who came right after Mac.
Uh-huh.
He wasn't that great. But he beat us that one year, and
Right.
that was just...
That made his whole year.
Oh, my gosh. Then they got Tom Herman, who I thought was good. I thought he was a good coach.
Yeah. Didn't win enough.
I think that's a dumb reason to fire some. You want? It's like he choked. It's like Sarkisian's choking the games, man.
Hey, Herman didn't lose to Kansas at home. I'll tell you
That's
that
true.
much.
That's true.
That was ridiculous.
It's just like if I were a Texas fan, I would just be like wearing the bag over my head right now.
Uh-huh. Now,
Like, am I feeling bad for Texas? That's just I should be like, man, we're gonna get him this year, and now I'm just like, God, it's just gonna be pitiful if we smoke them.
Yeah, well, I think they're going to be tough this year. Their defense looks tough. They've got Gary Patterson. My gosh, if you can't have a good defense with Gary Patterson as your defensive coordinator, I think that was a great hire. I don't think he's going to be there long. I bet they better do something this year.
I thought he'd retire after his gig at TCU.
I think Patterson's gone after this year. Somebody's going to snap him up. Might be Nebraska, by the way. We'll get to that in a minute. But I got to ask you something, Britt. You said you're not a Texas fan. We're definitely not Alabama fans.
No, we're not.
Who were you rooting for in that
Oh
game?
my gosh. You know, I was kind of pulling. I was like, you know what? I want to see if Texas can actually do it. And I guess that's why I got mad, because they didn't. And I'm like, dude, you had so many opportunities to win it, and you didn't. And again, Saban, I mean, I make the black magic jokes, but he played his cards beautifully with the final couple minutes of the game.
Yeah, I'm like you. I found myself rooting for Texas, and then I washed my mouth out with soap a few times, and then I found myself rooting for them again, and so. But I just knew that they'd left too much time on that clock. So yeah, that's hard to take rooting for Texas, and you know the guys on the radio remind me that it's never good for Texas to win. When Texas wins a big game like that, that's going to help them recruit in the future, bring more prestige to their university, and as the University of Oklahoma being their number one rival, we just never want them to win.
I know.
So.
It's just like, man, they almost had him there. It was like the Iron Bowl last year. They had him. Then the final couple minutes, they just choked the game away, and it was tragic.
Yeah, I think
that was crazy. That was another crazy game last year.
I think Saban has sold his soul to the devil. He's having fun now, but I don't know what the afterlife is going to bring him with all of these luck outs. So, what other games did you want to talk about tonight?
Appalachian State, the crazy people have done it once again.
My God,
they have upset another top 10 team. They did it years ago with Michigan.
Right.
And you better believe on CBS they were milking that game for what all it was worth. But they did it. They won the game. And I'm happy for them, you know. I'm like, yeah, you know, maybe it's not like Boise State because that game hurts too much still.
Yeah.
But man,
it seems like Appalachian State every year they either win one out of the blue that you never would expect. I mean, they beat A&M at home.
Oh my God, that had to have been embarrassing for A&M.
100,000 fans.
I have a guy I follow on Twitter. His name's Monty. He's always making fun of Texas A&M.
Well, they've got guy cheerleaders, and I'm not talking about the guys that hold the girls up.
You mean like literal guy cheerleaders?
Like the whole dude, they're all dudes, and they have the white hanky, you know.
My Lord.
And I do like to see everybody rocking in the stands. That's a cool one. And they do kiss their girlfriends after every touchdown, so I like that one. But gosh, it's hard to respect Texas A&M. Guy cheerleaders. losing to Appalachian State every year. It seems like
I was pleased they beat Alabama last year.
Yeah, they beat Alabama out of nowhere.
After the OU Texas game when they beat Alabama, I'm like, oh, that made my night.
They hired Jimbo Fisher, an all-timer coach from Florida State.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah,
he's very good.
Great. And then they
beaten first assistant of Nick Saban who ever beat him.
Is that right? I did not know that.
Sarkisian would have been a second if he'd have played his cards better. The dumbass.
But he doesn't, they've paid their players in this NIL all this money, so they've paid millions of dollars for their players. Apparently, is what I'm hearing, and then you lose to Appy State.
That's a heartbreaker right there. Yeah. I don't know what's gonna happen after that, but I would be sick.
Right.
I'm glad Appalachian State won because I love me a good upset. Yeah. Unless against OU, of course, but
exactly. And then late night game, BYU beats Baylor.
What?
The Big 12 champion getting knocked off by BYU.
I did not hear this.
Yeah, BYU's coming into the Big 12 soon, so that's got to put a little wind in their sails. So yeah, that was a late nighter. I didn't mention that one to you.
OSU also started slow.
They started slow, but they ended up beating them by a couple of touchdowns.
I texted Grampy and I was like, slow start, huh? I know what you're feeling, and he's all like, yeah, slow start, but I'm doing good. So I don't know. My grandfather has these things on his head. He didn't wear enough. I'm getting a little too personal, but he recently had something on his head and it's healing up. Right. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he exactly got what I was saying. I thought he
might have been on some medications.
Don't know, but they're OSU fans.
Right.
I think OU and OSU are like more friendly. Like Texas and OU are just brutal.
I don't think so, son.
No, you don't think so?
They don't call it Bedlam for no reason.
Don't call it Bedlam for nothing.
No.
I mean, to be fair, I'd be pretty pissed off at being beaten by OU a lot. So
right.
I get that.
And then we've got a big game coming up this week. The OU Sooners against the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
An old-timer.
Old-time rivalry.
Old-timer rivalry. And,
Bob Devaney.
I know.
Tom Osborne.
That one game in the 70s that you remember.
The game of the century? Yeah, I remember it. Johnny Rogers, Greg Pruitt. Oh, my gosh. What a game that was.
Wasn't that Fairbanks who was coaching that one?
Yes, I believe that was Fairbanks, and I believe he left the very next year. If not, he definitely left the following year, but that was the game.
I've seen clips of that game, and I remember someone saying, everyone complains about how OU fans get really mad. Mm-hmm. Bro, we're still mad over a call in the 70s. And I asked, because, Dad's the expert. I'm like,
you
Dad, what do you... They say a call from the 70s. What are you talking about? And he's like, is it the Nebraska OU game from the 70s? That's one I can think of. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's the clip.
The clip?
Johnny Rogers' punt return. It was an obvious clip. And he scored a touchdown, and they ended up beating us by 4 points. But it was early in the game. We had a chance to come back from that. But so Nebraska gets beat at home by Georgia Southern.
Ooh.
Are they Division II? I'm surprised Scott Frost made it out of the stadium.
Talk about another neutered dynasty.
Wow. I don't know that they come back, I didn't know if OU was going to come back after the John Blake. They
fired the guy, too. I was like, dude, they fired the Nebraska coach. They got good players, too.
They should have. They used to get all those homegrown big boys from Nebraska, corn-fed, eating big steaks.
I was talking about this year. Like they had some good players.
Who, Nebraska?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But they used to get the real big, fast guys. They recruited down in Texas when they were in the Big 12. I think their mistake was they moved to the Big 10. None of the Texas boys wanted to go to Nebraska anymore, and they're having to live off their own Nebraska guys. There's only so many people in Nebraska, and then maybe get some guys out of Chicago. I don't know where they're getting their players, but they're not stacking up. They had Tom Osborne. They had his assistant coach, which is I can't remember his name.
They've been one of the laughing stocks of the Big Ten for a while now.
Bo Pelini, which was a Stoops brothers friend. Callaway, that made disparaging marks about OU fans when we were playing them.
Don't do that.
It seems like every year their teams have got. It was Frank Solich who I was talking about. So you had Osborne 800% wins, 8 out of 10 wins every year. Then you go Solich, he was like 9-3. Then you get Pelini, he's still around that 8-4, 9-3. Then you get Callahan, 500, and now Scott Frost, 30% winning percentage. You just can't live with that in Nebraska. I don't care how nice their fans are. He was gone.
No. Georgia Southern?
Yeah,
I
guess they're from Georgia. That's all I know. In the south of Georgia, I don't know. Never heard of them.
Either Nebraska was like good or they were really bad.
Yeah.
Probably really bad. I don't know.
I don't know if they gave up on Frost and they wanted to change, but here's the deal. Now here comes OU in on a team that is
a reinvigorated team.
They're dumpster fire reinvigorated because they've got a new coach. I've heard it's a guy that the players really like. And so then when you get a new coach, you get reinvigorated.
Well, when you're in a rebuild like that, you tend to...
Yeah.
When you get like a sudden rebuild anyway like that, it's going to be kind of tough. And sadly, they're not as... I don't think they're quite as lucky as we are.
Well, I don't know. It was lucky to get Stoops, but... I just don't see how they're going to come back.
I don't know what this game's going to... I thought this one was going to be a smack. I thought this game was going to be not too eventful, and, well, I guess I was right, but they played better than I thought. That was really the only thing I was kind of surprised by, but with Nebraska, I have no idea where it's going to go.
Well, they played us tough last year at our place when we should have smacked them last year. So they've got the players.
I kind of blame that one on Riley. I mean, I know he's kind of the scapegoat now, but that whole season. That's why I think we should have started this last year. There was a lot to talk about last year because a lot of those games we should have won.
Right. Well, I just hope that they don't have a career game. One game out of the whole year, and they ended up beating us or playing us even close. We need to go in there, and I hope the guys are taking this team seriously. After they've lost to Northwestern in Ireland, they come back and barely get by one of the Dakota teams, and then lose at home against Georgia Southern. I can see our guys not taking them seriously, not practicing hard, playing video games all night, not getting their sleep, not listening to the coaches that say, hey, these guys might be invigorated, and then going out there and laying an early morning egg.
I hope not. These guys are pretty disciplined, but, you never know.
You never know. People are people, and I just hope that they take them seriously. It is Nebraska. You have to take them seriously, especially when you're Oklahoma and you haven't played them in 10 years, at their place. So I hope they take them seriously.
Speaking of Lincoln Riley, USC game, saw a little bit of that.
Yeah, they're looking salty.
They're looking good. Yeah,
the offense is humming.
There were some Lincoln Riley-isms where he was kind of almost letting them back into the game, and I'm like, I was on Twitter. I'm like, they're getting comfortable and starting to let him score up on him. Where have I seen this before? But, they got a pretty confident victory over there, and I don't know if I don't really know what to say anymore. I know a lot of people are still shit talking Lincoln Riley, but I'm just like, I'm mad, but
Yeah, we got to go on with our season. I like the coach that we have. I like the direction of our program. I'm not worried about Lincoln Riley. They do look solid on offense. Of course, who knows how good Stanford
I do hope
is.
we play them someday and just utterly embarrass them.
Yeah, well, you might get your wish. We could play them, sooner than, later. If they keep winning and we keep winning, you never know what might happen. But, and what I can't stand is their defense is getting a lot of turnovers, too. They had 3 pick sixes last year.
I know.
I think they had 3 or 4 turnovers this week. I think Grinch saved them all up. It's like the Grinch that stole the turnovers at Christmas from the Sooners. I just can't stand to see them get turnovers.
I know. It's just like, what? That's what made the only thing that made me mad is that they were playing way better than they were when they were coaching for us. I'm like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I still don't see that many fans in the stadium, so
USC's kind of been on the burner for a few years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you lose Pete Carroll, it's going to take a while to recover from that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff to do out in LA, like the beaches and go see all the stars' houses.
I mean, Pete Carroll had a dynasty back in the day.
He did indeed.
Like Saban with Alabama now, that was USC when I was young.
They put a beat down on us.
I'm glad I don't remember that game. That was probably embarrassing.
I do remember it very well. It was snowing that night. We started off pretty good. I thought we were going to do fine, and all of a sudden, we made every mistake that we could make, and USC just stomped us. And this may be something that you might remember, maybe you don't, but the very next morning we had to get up, and you got tubes in your ears the very next morning.
Oh, I have vague memories of that.
That was the day, and we had to drive over in the snow and get you tubes in your ears.
I had some vague memories, or at least with tubes. I don't know exactly what it was, but
I think that one didn't hurt as bad as that time when we went to that Florida OU game.
Yeah, that one hurt. That sucked. Yeah.
That's because I paid like $3,000 to go down there.
Oh yeah, that probably sucked.
And then we lose the day.
I was sunburnt.
Yeah, we lose the game, and we had to stay in Florida for the rest of the week because I didn't plan that trip very well.
We were playing against Urban Meyer back in his prime.
Yeah,
so
Tim Tebow, he's hard to beat. So
at least back in the day,
that was when we were hitting 60 points every single game. I think we had 6 games in a row to finish.
I feel like we tend to get bad luck when it comes to our Heisman winners. Because didn't Sam win that year?
He did win. No, to see, did he win that year? He may have won that year. He might have won. I think Tebow won it the year before. I know the year that Jason White won it, we lost in the Sugar Bowl. Baker, obviously.
Oh my gosh, that's another one that hurt when we played Georgia.
Lose to Georgia. That's still painful.
Thank you, Lincoln.
Yeah. So let's not win the Heisman here. Let's win a national championship. I'd rather win a national championship or 2, and then we can win some Heismans again.
Yeah. With Nebraska, it's not sure what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm a little...
Rivalry games are always... they're always throwing out the punches for the rivalry games.
Exactly right. And
it's like with Texas. Like, they played the game of their lives last year, and the year before that even. When we went into 4 overtimes. You remember that?
Yep.
That was a nail-biter.
That was a nail-biter. And this is the 3rd week in a row that I'm going to miss some or all of an OU football game. First week, I had to go to a family reunion, which we have to go to the family reunion.
Yeah.
Our aunt's turning 90. We got to go to the family reunion. Last week, guest speaker at church. Had to go to that, which that was a great time. But I missed most of the game. And then by the time I made it home, the game was in hand, so... And I was having some work done at my house that I was very interested in. And then this week I'm going to Destin, Florida to hang out on the beach, which I'm happy to go hang out on the beach, but I'm going to miss most, if not all, of the Nebraska game.
Man.
So it's not happening. I promise you this, Britton.
It's not happening again.
I'm not missing a minute of any other game, period, the rest of this year.
That's good.
But missing these games has been kind of good luck for us. We've won them both. I'm happy about that. Think the offense
very
has to
confident
improve.
Wins too.
Yeah, they were confident, easy wins, but the offense has to get better.
Yeah, I know. I agree. The offense was looking kind of shaky there, and when we're playing like legitimate contenders, like that cannot be.
I think we just got to get a little more dynamic
I think
with our play calling.
I don't want to diss on Kent State. I think they're talented. I think they have a lot of spark to be very good.
Yeah.
But
they're in the MAC.
they're in the MAC, yeah. But yeah, all I'm saying is they have talent, but they didn't have the coordination. They didn't have the what's the word I should use? Not the skill, 'cause that's not it. They didn't have the necessary tools to win. They didn't.
They're in little school.
They didn't take the initiative, or
Right.
when they did, we would stop them because our defense is looking really good, and they've saved us, and they really saved us this game. But when we're playing like contenders that do have the tools to actually win, I think the shaky offense is really dangerous.
Yeah. I think we're gonna have to open it up a bit. I hope that he's holding back some of his playbook, because if this is the whole playbook, I think we're in trouble against some of these better teams.
Well, like I said, I don't know if it's either because of bad play calling or just inexperience from the team. Don't know.
Yeah.
Could be both. I have no idea.
Well, listen to this gauntlet of schedule that Kent State is facing. So they started out at Washington.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw a bit of that game.
Then they come at Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Next week they've got a
no-name
team. Then they're at Georgia.
Oh,
so we're gonna get to see.
That's gonna be a massacre.
We're gonna see how good they actually are.
I would be shocked if. I'd be shocked. I would say I think Kent State has potential. I don't know if.
Well, let's see if they can hold Georgia under 500. Then, if they do, then I'll say, okay, I'm more satisfied with our wins, but or the way we played against them. But a win is a win. We got the win. We didn't
barely win.
We didn't hit the spread. The spread was 31. We won by 30. It's not a big disappointment. Could have been like the Tulane game last year, as we mentioned last week. So
I'll take anything over the Tulane game.
I think I'll take it too. So on to Nebraska this week. Any predictions about the score?
Oh, I think it might. I have a feeling it might be like. This last week, where it starts out a little slow and then we start giving them the beat down. But I could be wrong. I hope OU proves me wrong. But we'll see. I try not to get too worried about predicting, because that just makes me worried.
I'm gonna go 63-0. I hope we come out strong. I hope we beat them down. I hope we don't.
I definitely see like a 48-10 or something at least.
Okay. I hope we don't give them any hope, because you get a team like that with a little bit of hope in them, and they start playing good, and they start getting confidence, and just anything can happen. So
football's a very fickle sport.
It is. I just hope we kick them in the teeth right off the bat, get them down, let them know, yeah, you lost to Georgia Southern, and guess what?
You're going to lose to us too.
You get ready to get a butt whipping right now. It don't matter who your coach is. And I hope that's the way it goes. Just a little bit nervous about it, so I'm ready to get this thing kicked off.
Yeah, this is like an old school rivalry, right?
Exactly right.
We played. It was a big rivalry back in the day.
One of the biggest. Always played on Thanksgiving Day for years.
That and Texas, I think, were our biggest rivalries.
Well,
that and OSU.
Well, OSU's our little brother. We're a big rivalry for them. To us, it's a. We're playing somebody just above Kansas. So.
Well, I don't think. Oh man, they're not that bad. They're not that bad.
Not anymore. They used to be.
Oh, okay. I'm like, bro, don't. I'm like, dude. They're not as bad as Kansas.
I think Gundy's been the coach there like 16 years, and he's only won 3 games against us. So.
I was about to say.
But they play us tight. You're right.
Kansas.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Kansas. They beat West Virginia.
They're looking solid?
At West Virginia.
Oh, my God. Kansas is coming back with a vengeance.
With the people burning the couches out in the parking lot.
Oh.
Can't even understand what they're saying, drinking the moonshine, and they went up to Mountaineer Stadium and win that game. That was a shocker as well.
Kansas has been the Cleveland Browns of the Big 12 as long as I've been around.
Yeah.
And I'm always kind of pulling because I like competitive football as much as I love Oklahoma smacking the competition, but I think they're really mad, and I think they're done with just laying down and getting beat.
Well, that new coach they got must be doing something right. They're
looking pretty. I mean, I don't know. They could just go back to their old ways in a couple of weeks, but they're looking pretty dangerous right now.
I even
They look really pissed off.
I even saw one of my old Kansas City buddies that I used to work with that is a big basketball fan do a rock chalk Jayhawk over Facebook. So maybe they're buying into the Jayhawk dynasty that's being built here after 2 games.
I mean, what was the last time they were good with Coach Donut?
Yeah, Coach Donut, Mark Mangino.
Yeah, and even then he was like, he was okay, except for that like 1 year where they were great.
Yeah, and then they pulled to Kansas and fired him. They go to the Orange Bowl and they fire him.
Good coach who doesn't suck. Let's fire him.
Exactly. Didn't want to take any attention off the basketball team, and then Kansas State goes up against Missouri and puts a beat down on them.
I know.
So we're going to have to play them right after Nebraska, and then I think right behind that is Texas. So we've got a little gauntlet coming our way as well.
Another fallen team. Remember when Missouri was great?
Yeah, they were like number 1 in the nation when we played them in the Big 12 championship.
I think we beat them that year.
2008, 10, somewhere in that range. Yeah, we beat them. They had the great wide receivers slipping my mind right now. Then they had Chase Daniels, what they call him a booger eater because he got caught eating a booger on the sidelines on national TV. Not good.
Arkansas beat Spencer Rattler.
Oh, I like that.
You like that they beat Spencer Rattler or South Carolina in general?
South Carolina in general. I think, what the OU fans saw last year is kind of true. He's got a strong arm, but he's not much of a leader. Arkansas pretty much manhandled him most of the game. He did make a little bit of a comeback, but as soon as they got close, Arkansas took control of the game again.
I think that new coach is doing some good work
for Arkansas.
Yeah,
he's a good coach. And what does he say? Turn up that damn jukebox. I think he has that saying after they have a big win.
When was the last time Arkansas was good?
Jimmy Johnson era? I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe, I don't know. Lou Holtz. I think we played him in the Cotton Bowl in the early 2000s. One of the most boring games I've ever seen in my life. I think it started at 10 in the morning and we beat him like 9-6 or something stupid. It was super boring. But I don't remember when they've been any good. At least they're not a laughing stock anymore.
That's good.
Their fans after the first game, they'd always say, maybe next year. So maybe they haven't said that.
I'm sure Granny's very happy.
Oh, I'm sure she is. I need to call her and check with her on that. So,
I'd like to see good competitive football, and it looks like Arkansas is becoming a contender again.
I do agree. I think they've got something going on. It all starts with the quarterback. I think they've got a pretty good quarterback right now.
That dude's massive.
Yeah, and if they keep that going, they're in the SEC. They should be able to attract talent. All you got to do is win. Nobody wants to play in the SEC and get their butts beat. So if they win some games and get a little bit of momentum behind the program, then they can get some good players, and they could be a dynasty.
You think they can beat Alabama?
No.
I was about to ask. I'm like, you think they're good enough to beat Alabama yet?
Well, you don't know because I don't know if Texas was that good the other day or Alabama's just not all that this year. So I guess we'll see here in the coming weeks.
Yeah, Ryan's always ranting to me about how Alabama's overrated. I'm like, dude, I don't say this with happiness, but Alabama's a contender, man.
They win it every other year or every 2 years in a row. I mean, you just don't do that. They're obviously the cream of the crop in college football.
I'll say that happily. I'm not like
last decade or two. They've
been the terror of college football.
Yeah. One note that
we did beat them though.
We did beat them in the Sugar Bowl.
That was good. That was fun.
Trevor Knight. As a matter of fact, I watched one of the coaches' shows this week, and Trevor Knight was actually a commentator on there and did a great job. So I think he's got a future in broadcasting.
What were you going to say?
One note that I heard on the TV broadcast that OU has 142 consecutive sellouts, second longest streak in America. So I'm not sure who the first longest streak is. Maybe it is Alabama.
To be fair, there's not a lot to do out here in Oklahoma.
That's true. You have to bring that up.
But hey,
That's
football
true.
is a big passion for everybody out here.
Is,
So
it is. Big Sooner Nation, and then obviously the
Cowboy
Cowboys
Nation.
there, and then Tulsa.
Well, Tulsa went toe to toe with Wyoming a few weeks ago. That was a crazy ass game.
Yeah.
I remember watching that. I'm like, oh, he missed it! He missed it! And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
are you rooting for him now? I'm like, no, I called it.
Oh Lord, I can't even talk about Tulsa. I don't know anything about them. So. Well, Brett, anything else before we wrap it up this week?
I don't know. Is there any other games to talk about? I mean, we talked about Notre Dame. That was embarrassing.
Yeah, that was embarrassing.
Ohio State won. Is grass green?
Yeah, that's true.
Not much else. Georgia also won. Again, is water wet?
Yeah, exactly. So, some things don't change, but we have had a pretty exciting start of the season.
Any other upsets worth
country.
talking about?
I don't think so. Nothing's coming to mind. And like you said last week, I got to go to the bathroom.
Fair enough. All right, let's wrap it up here.
All right, buddy.
It's good talking to you, Lib. I'm excited for next week.
I am excited for next week. I'll get home, rewatch that game with you, and then we'll have our podcast again next week.
Indeed.
All right.
This has been yet another episode of Days of Our Sooners. See y'all later.